Taking the gang down, episode 6 of Again My Life starts with Wee-Woo visited by Seok Jae, a man who seems to have his best interests at heart. At the office, Seok Jae hands over a whole stack of papers, a list of people and crimes leading all the way up to the top and connected to Tae-seop. It appears the plan here is to remove all the pawns from the chessboard before Wee-Woo makes his move against the king. This puts the slap into a lot more context. The slap though is actually a warning, as Seok Jae shows up and fears for Wee-Woo's life. If you stomp around too hard, you'll leave footprints. Do not put your life on the line, he says sternly. With this harsh reminder, Wee-Woo gets back on with the case. Remember the teller last episode, Jin? It turns out her father, Do Chang-soo, actually sold her to the casino to pay off his debts. She was collateral damage, forced to work as a teller all that time. She knows he's a great cook, but a lousy gambler, something Wee-Woo echoes across to him as he's encouraged to do right by Jin from now on. With the case in full swing, Wee-Woo uncovers several hidden ledgers regarding the gang's illicit activities. With evidence stacked against them, Wee-Woo tasks Sang-nan with handing over an envelope full of papers to Han-mi, intent on outing the gang on national TV. Wee-Woo starts questioning those from the gang, changing the subject of the investigation across from the gambling to the disappearance of young women. The only traces left behind are their handbags or random items of clothing. Hyun-jong is first to snap while being questioned, pointing out that they used to inject these women with illegal drugs. Those who became addicted would end up in brothels. So far there's been about 20 of them. Wee-Woo is not happy, and he tasks Investigator Oh with diving into this further, while he interviews Gu-jun, the leader of the gang. He turns off all the cameras, and begins beating him. Investigator Oh rushes in to stop him, as Wee-Woo is called away by several high-powered officials to discuss the case. These men are desperate to cover up any wrongdoing, given their names would be linked with the gang's activity. Thankfully, Wee-Woo was well prepared for this, and news breaks on the TV regarding the gang being arrested. This puts the whole department in a difficult position, especially as this is not going to be easy to brush aside. Wee-Woo can't keep the whole gang behind bars though, so while the grunts are let go, their leader Gu-jun is kept in behind bars. With the case wrapped up, Wee-Woo takes some time to visit Hye, who's very busy these days. She's preparing for a resort's big opening, and only returned to Korea to see her father. She actually visited Gangwon, because that's where he lives. While they talk, Han-mi shows up, and the two women pass each other on the pier. Han-mi heads out for something to eat with Wee-Woo, as the gang arrive, and begin intimating them. Han-mi is hot-headed, and threatens them, after they insult her, while Ha-young-young and the others warn Wee-Woo that he needs to watch his back in town. After these two meetings, there's a pretty hilarious dialogue back home as Sang-man questions Wee-Woo over who he's going to choose to date out of Han-mi and Hye. He doesn't answer, but does hand over more documents for Investigator Oh to work through in the morning, who's struggling to get it all done. While interrogating Gu-jun, Wee-Woo brings up all the evidence linked to the Yochi gang, and how they even have witness statements from some of the grunts in the organization too. Either way, Gu-jun is looking at least 30 years behind bars. Wee-Woo brings this case to Seok-hoon, filling him in about Gimson City's gangsters, and their ties to the regional politicians. There's a big transaction scheduled for tomorrow, including down at the docks, where they smuggle in the drugs among the fish. After conferring with Seok Jae, Wee-Woo wants Seok-hoon to be the one to go after them, and do the big bust. He has the resources to really make the charges stick and make a massive splash. This would be great for his career, and give him a very likely chance of promotion. Now, this move also has an ulterior motive for Wee-Woo. He knows Seok-hoon is close to Tae-seop, so as a result it would allow Wee-Woo to get closer. Seok-hoon visits Tae-seop after, and fills him in on what's happening. He mentions the case, and how Wee-Woo wants to come to Seoul. Now, there is a stipulation to all this. Wee-Woo wants Seok Jae and Investigator Oh to also be reassigned with him. Tae-seop is a little more cautious but decides to see how this case goes, before agreeing to anything. As the episode comes to a close, Wee-Woo heads down to the docks undercover with Sang-man and Oh. They find the drugs stashed inside the fish, and in doing so, end up one step closer to bringing this gang down once. Wee-Woo is certainly playing the long game here, and it works really well to see him learn some patience as he starts building up a case to use against Tae-seop. The whole show has done a decent job balancing out Wee-Woo's superior knowledge of the game with Tae-seop rising further in power, and it'll be intriguing to see how the show handles that going forward. Meanwhile, the in-jokes from Sang-man about Wee-Woo's two women, and who he will choose, is something that feels like a nod to audiences, given we've all been asking ourselves the exact same question. Most of the episode's drama revolves around the issues involving this gang and what they're hiding. Again, my life feels a lot closer to a law crime drama now, rather than a sci-fi flick, despite what the early episodes would imply. However, that doesn't make this any less enjoyable. All the pieces are starting to move across the chessboard, and it sets everything up for a very interesting set of strategic moves in the future. Will it be checkmate for Tae Seob? Or does he have a few more tricks up his sleeve?